Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Investing Bros. This is a special news update. I'm by myself, no T-Shroom, and we're not going to be covering a bunch of stories. Instead, this morning, we are simply going to be talking about Bitcoin. I don't know if you have seen it, but Bitcoin again earlier this morning went back above $30,000. We're currently kind of wrestling with the area. At the time of making this video, you're going to see even as I do the TA, it's wrestling between 29,900 and 30,000, but we did have some very bullish price action happening, and it's mostly because of these two headlines that I'm going to share with you guys. Let's go ahead and go to the first one. The first one, of course, the continual bullish nature because of the speculation amongst spot ETFs. Now, the news coming out yesterday is, of course, that BlackRock joined Fidelity in updating what they were doing with their ETF filing. It's not really that big of a deal. In fact, I don't think this article, actually, the one I pulled up, talks about it. But pretty much in a nutshell, what we see BlackRock doing is acknowledging the competition, not promising anything necessarily to investors. That's a big deal, I think, to the SEC because they continually want to just help out and keep retail investors as protected as possible is the best way they want to put that. But anyway, BlackRock, Fidelity, and others changing some of the wordings of their filings are probably going to help them get past in the long run. The issue is people are acting like this is going to happen today or maybe next week, when in reality, as we covered yesterday, Gary Gensler has not said anything to echo that whatsoever. In fact, he actually kind of said we're going to continue to use our very slow SEC policy, our processes that take forever, pretty much. I joked around with a friend yesterday. Gary Gensler, when it comes to delaying Bitcoin ETFs, is like the LeBron James of his prime. What do I mean by that? Remember how LeBron James in his prime, no matter what the roster looked like, he had talented rosters in Miami. He had moments in Cleveland it was talented. There's other moments you're like, what the heck, this roster is terrible. He always found a way to at least make it to the finals, right? For those basketball fans. In the same way, like I said, Gary Gensler, everyone thinks, oh, no, now he has to approve the ETF. Right now it's so good. He's dropping cases against Ripple. That's another big story that happened yesterday. We'll talk more about that in the live show this afternoon. But he dropped the case against Ripple. They're changing the policy. He has no reason whatsoever to not approve the ETFs at this point. Well, that's like saying, oh, look at LeBron's roster. Even though he's in his prime, there's no way he makes it to the finals. Gary's going to find a way, just like LeBron. But that wasn't the only story that we're kind of rallying on right now. Let's go back to my screen. The other big story is, of course, remarks made by Jerome Powell. And depending on where you're looking for your news this morning, this article right here, for example, is a bullish one written to you guys by You Today, T-Shroom's favorite out there. And by the way, it's not. He hates You Today. He doesn't like the ads. He doesn't like the layout of this thing. But anyway, so we're talking about what Jerome Powell said yesterday, and here's a little part of the little section that some people are kind of using, and they're looking at this kind of being bullish. He said, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, recent comments have stirred quite a discussion, not just on traditional finance markets, but also within the crypto ecosystem. In an unforeseen address, Powell suggested the potential for central banks to pause its extended series of interest rate hikes contingent on the continuation of recent progress on inflation. While his insights were primarily directed long-term treasury yields, the implications of cryptocurrency markets, including Bitcoin and other digital assets, are noteworthy. What is the point of this? What am I kind of trying to communicate with you guys? The point is that people are right now looking at these two headlines. They're looking at BlackRock kind of saying, hey, we're going to refile, we're going to reword some things that should be favorable, and they're expecting these ETFs to be approved tomorrow. We have ETF hype, and then we also have some hype from Jerome Powell. We have some hype that yesterday he spoke, and they think that he said some bullish things. But like I said, it depends on who you're asking. There was a great breakdown of what Jerome Powell really said yesterday by the Kobesi letter. Again, another account you guys should be following over on X. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. This is an amazing summary of what Jerome Powell actually said yesterday. Number one, additional evidence of strong economy may merit rate more hikes. I think that's yeah, that's just bad English. Sorry. Don't follow him for his writing skills. Follow him for his details and follow him for the truth. Yeah, pretty much. Let's reword this. Additional evidence of strong economy may merit more rate hikes. Not good. Number two, returning to 2% inflation will require below trend growth. Okay. Number three, committed to sufficiently restrictive policy. So they're going to continue to be restrictive because they want to get to that 2%. Number four, there may still be meaningful tightening in the pipeline. So again, saying, hey, we might have to tighten rates, or we might have to raise rates, continue quantitative tightening. Summer inflation data was promising. September is less encouraging. It's number five. Overall, the Fed is committed to their 2% inflation rate. Most importantly, Powell said that the Fed wants to balance too much to too little tightening. Raising rates too high risks a major recession. Not raising rates high enough risks another inflation breakout. Yeah, follow up Gobesi letter. This is very, very important, especially this one right here. Additional evidence of strong economy may merit more rate hikes. Again, a little dyslexic there, but that's the big takeaway. This backs up what we have been saying here on Investing Bros for a while. Yes, some people are going to look at the positive side. He did talk about, hey, right now, it's not as bad as it could be. But even something that Kobesi points out there, he said, well, yeah, we were really encouraged there in August, but September, the numbers weren't doing exactly what we wanted them to do. So we definitely got to keep an eye on that. What he's saying is, if the economy does too well, we're not down at 2% yet. We're going to probably need to keep raising rates. And he only hinted at, if you actually go back and listen to some of this stuff, he said he actually hinted at potential rate cuts coming if the economy starts to do poorly. Well, the whole thing is he wants to get 2%. What else do we know is happening right now? Joe Biden wants to spend another $100 billion simply on the wars happening in Ukraine and Israel right now. Not getting the details there, just saying. To do that, we got to turn money printers on. And that's not even talking about the other things that Joe Biden wants to spend money on here in the U.S. At the end of the day, inflation is not done. So there's two things that can happen. Either he can keep raising interest rates because the economy is strong and that just kills anything, or more than likely next year we're going to see a recession scare. We're actually see inflation start to tick back up, but not just inflation. We're going to see the economy start to tank a little bit, and he's going to have to. This is Jerome Powell I'm talking about. Him and the Fed are going to have to lower interest rates, which is what we're predicting. That's when the bullishness really happens next year, not because of a recession, but in fear of a recession. But right now, this is actually not as bullish as everyone thinks. But what's happening as we come over and we start to look at the charts, guys, look at the 2 time periods over the last week that we've seen a spike in Bitcoin price. Now, yes, a lot of this did happen on this day back here. This is, I'm on the 2-hour chart. I don't even know I'm on the 2-hour chart. Let's go to the daily chart here. This day right here. Let's go to this one. October 16th. This was Monday. Yes, the fake news about the spot ETFs are what really pumped us up above 30,000. I got you. But we started pumping that morning. When? During the Chinese trading section. Why? Because of the growing of love and the growing affinity for spot ETFs coming out, and maybe rumors that maybe it was going to happen sooner rather than later. China really got this pump going. We rallied to 30,000. We found out that was fake news. We came back down where? To about where China had pumped us. Then this morning, let's go down here and look at the hourly chart. Let's look at when this pump really started this morning, guys. It started technically last night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And technically, there probably were still American traders in there, but that's about the time that the Chinese are starting to wake up. The big pump came even earlier this morning at 4 a.m. That's prime Chinese trading time zones. This, ladies and gentlemen, is once again the Chinese market continuing to pump the Bitcoin price based off of 2 articles that are bullish, 2 stories, the Bitcoin ETFs continuing to get some hype, Jerome Powell maybe being a little dovish. I saw some people are interpreting it. They're pumping price off of American news that's not even really reality. I want to continue to caution you guys. Let's go down to the 15-minute chart. There was some bullish stuff that happened here. If you guys were trading, if you had woken up at 4 a.m., China definitely got to take advantage of this. Nice little pennant right here. I don't know if it's a pennant, just a flag. We had a nice little bull flag. This actually ended up trading pretty beautifully. You guys can see that little flag there. We got a little flag pull. Move this over to our breakout. That gave us a nice little call to where we kind of been closing some candles here at 30,000. So good little trade opportunity. If you guys had been awake this morning, you could have caught advantage of that. watch out for that. But what we're seeing happen here, this is not necessarily as much of a flagpole. I don't think we're going to see a second. I don't think we're going to see a second flag situation happen. Also, when you kind of zoom out here to the 4-hour chart, notice we got very close to another trend of resistance. This is that same line we talked about the other day. Got to kind of fix this up just a little bit because for some reason it's not touching everything. There we go. This is the level of resistance developed, started back here in September. We once again have come up and touched that level, and we seem to be retracing here a little bit. Also, when we're coming out here on the 4-hour chart, yes, massive, massive, massive overbought flashing here. When we turn on our Market Oracle Pro, we're above, even right now, currently the time I'm making the video, we are above the trading wave. So on these shorter time frames, maybe that are telling us what the rest of the day looks like, the hourly chart's screaming it even more. We're still way above that one. These lower time frame ones kind of screaming at us, hey guys, this is a little out of control. And the money flow really isn't screaming at us that we need to keep going to the upside. There is technically some hope. There's some bearishness. There's some bullishness. When you go out to the daily chart, we're back up in that red wave, but that's not the end of the world. We have not flashed an overbought signal just yet. I am concerned that we are getting back to being overextended here on the oscillators, and you're going to start seeing a divergence be a question that comes in here. You guys can see we're above the peak. Back when we hit 32,000, we're above that level in the RSI and on the oscillators, but we're not above that level when it comes to price action. So if we can't keep coming up here with green candles, we are going to see divergence technically come into play. Also, when you come out here to the weekly chart, keep an eye here, guys. This is just making, if we keel over, an even better and cleaner head and shoulders pattern. In fact, this might be, if we end up doing this, if we end up keeling over, moving the downside, this might be in the history of head and shoulders patterns, one of the most beautiful head and shoulders patterns where we have a nice flat neckline. We have pretty much an even shoulder. Like, this is a well put together guy that is absolutely doing a great job of taking care of his left and right shoulder in the weight room. Right? The point here, though, is we're starting to come up to some resistance. Even when it comes down here to the RSI, keep your guys' eyes on this. This is the prime RSI, but there is a trend with the RSI that is moving to the downside. Keep an eye here. We are getting back close to some resistance right there. That's a trend that you want to keep an eye on as we get back to it. We could end up rejecting there as well. So, as a whole, guys, bullish morning. Don't want to take anything away from Bitcoin. But the fact is, it's happening based off of China trading and news that is not really necessarily telling you the full picture. What does sometimes that look like? And a lot of hopium. Again, I told you guys yesterday, and for days now, if you go over to Bitcoin and you start looking at articles, everything's a bullish opinion piece. Everyone talking about price predictions, getting back above 30,000. Can we get up to 650,000? All of this is just manipulation, getting the price to the upside so that they can take profit and you guys are left with the bags. I could be wrong. I very much could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. It's not time for the real bull market to start. So continue to think for yourself. Don't just trust me. Do your own research. Do your own charting. Continue to decide for yourself what you think Bitcoin's going to do. We're going to talk more about this today in the afternoon live show. T-Shroom will be back. I'm very excited for it. But on your way out, smash that like button if this video was helpful to you. Hit that subscribe button. We are continuing to grow. We got back above 4,500 subscribers yesterday. Hit that subscribe as we get closer towards 5,000. And with that being said, I will see you this afternoon.